Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's Jim Keller, everybody.
And welcome to the late show. No, just to the tech routine. Hi, everyone. It's just me right now. Unfortunately, George is working his way to his computer. Not exactly too sure how far he is away, so you've just got me for the time being. That should be fine. We've got plenty to talk about. As in, one, there is no longer that serious a heat wave in the UK. We're back down to quote normal. Still warm for this time of year, I think. But at least I'm not sweating my nether regions off, which most people are. You might be able to see I did purchase air conditioning. Thank you for the $2 super chat, Jay. It's an incentive super chat for us to begin. We've begun. And the other big pre-show news is we were kicked out of the World Cup. If anybody saw that match last night, England-Argentina, as usual, England score one goal up and they park the bus. For anyone who has opinions on that match, I don't bemoan the manager for doing what he did. It's just the England narrative, aside from being crap at penalties, is that we don't know how to stay ahead if we start ahead. Case in point, when Michael Owen scored in the first 3 minutes, and then we still lost 2-1 at the end because we parked the bus for the rest of the other 90 minutes. So the match last night was excruciating. At least, consider it where it was 1-0, and then 30 minutes later it was 1-1. The worry was we were going to have to go to extra time. Thankfully, Argentina scored, and we were all able to go home and wait another 4 years until it comes home. And will it ever in my lifetime? Who knows? There was a big fuss about it not being political before the match, and it turns out that after the match, it was actually very political for the Argentinians. Long history there. I was not alive when it happened most recently with the war, but there are still emotions. That being said, Messi played like a rocket. He is 39. I am functionally older than Messi. That is terrifying. Though the first 30 minutes, he looks more like a Ballon d'Or winner than a Ballon d'Or winner. But the other 60, he was head and shoulders above everybody around him. And Spence on the England team should have got man of the match for the first 75 minutes. And they played hard. They played tough. Aren't you glad we're not in a competitive environment here in semiconductors and technology and chips and fanboys and stuff on social media? No, we get drips rather than it being highly competitive. We have an interesting show for you today. It's been a couple of weeks since the last Poutine. I have been on the road. I went to the New York Stock Exchange to see IBM ring the bell Tuesday, was it last week or week before? And for them, they were launching Z17, so that's their Z processor line, Tell them 2. They were launching their rack scale and rack mount systems. And because those mainframes sort of power Wall Street, and they have a long history with Wall Street, they had their head of their Z division go ring the bell, and I was invited. There was about, 100, 120 people. Now, I've been to the New York Stock Exchange a handful of times, but this was the first time I ever went onto the trading floor. And if you remember all the imagery of all the traders waving, paper and making hand signals, that's all gone. It's all electronic. There are people in booths with about 40 screens. Jim Cramer is presenting his Mad Money, and he was doing that as the bell was rung in, and I got a few photos of it all, and it was interesting. And it meant I was in New York for July 4th. I decided to spend most of it asleep before walking 10 kilometers around Manhattan. Then took the red eye on the Tuesday to end up in Paris on Wednesday. Yes, because New York to Paris sounds absolutely glamorous. And we had 2 days at an event called Raise Summit, Raise AI, however you want to call it, has become essentially the AI event for Europe every year. And it's second week of July. It's held at the Louvre, at the function meeting rooms at the Louvre. So not in the museum itself, but basically that part of Paris, if you've ever been. Still tons of tourists. The event is very badly signed as well. You have to go through a shopping center to get there. Last year there was 6,000 people. This year is 9,000 people. And most of it is taken up by people building services on AI and neoclouds, and a few startups doing their own thing, and a very small smattering of hardware people. And for me, it's always a double-edged sword raise, and this is the second year, and I've gone both years. It's interesting to bump into people and pretty much everybody I bump into Raise are people that I bump into elsewhere during the year. But you go to a few talks, and then you realize there's not a lot to say, but then you bump into a few people, and actually, it ends up being worth it. But it being 9,000 people in such a small space, whenever I speak to companies, they really like the event because they get a lot of work done. It's a chance for the people who design the tools, design the models, to go find business. And it is up and happening there. Spent some time speaking to Pat Gelsinger. He was there on stage with Next Silicon, Elad, CEO of Next Silicon. They had a good talk on stage. I caught them both afterwards. And if you're wondering what Pat's doing recently, I have an interview. Let's drop the link in the chat if you haven't seen that. I interviewed him earlier this year. He now works for a VC fund called Playground Global. And so he's got his fingers in a lot of pies, and he does a lot of push-ups. Let's put it that way. But it was fun to see those two. I bumped into the CEO of Samba Nova for the first time. And it surprisingly, it's been this long since I've seen him or met him in person. I saw him at Computex in person, but across the room. And Samba Nova is doing this close tie-in thing with Intel. And they also just raised a bunch of money for an $11 billion valuation. I think it was like a Series E or a Series F. So in terms of AI startups raising money, still going on really, really strong. And part of the news today will be part of that. Welcome to Sally. She's joining us from the Mid-Atlantic, heading over early to AMD, which we'll talk about. And both Sally and I will be at AMD. But let's get into the meat of the show. And I could do the blurb about my name's Potato and George is from Chips and Cheese, therefore it's Poutine. We don't have George, but we have merchandise. This has actually become one of my favorite t-shirts. It's nice and soft and it fits well. And in the heat, I like wearing white. I know, is that weird? I never used to wear white. But you can pick this all up at shop.techtechpotato.com, and there's a bunch of options there. So let's get into the headline story. And it looks a little like this. Here we go. And this is the picture of a talk that I was unprepared for. So we took the people out, and using AI, of course. And the person on the left is Tony Kim. He's one of the principal investors over at BlackRock. And the person on the right is Charlie Kawas at Broadcom, president of Broadcom. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Broadcom are the company that help other companies build their chips. So if you want to build a chip and you know the architecture that you want, but you don't know how to build it in silicon, you go to a company like Broadcom, like Marvell, like MediaTek, and now, funnily enough, Qualcomm, and you say, this is roughly what I want, help me. And they'll say, sure, it will cost you this much. We have this IP, you need to license this much. We have a strong relationship with TSMC. If you want HBM, we also have HBM and we have access to packaging. And the idea is that 15 high profile, about 70 customers total, Broadcom has. And all they do is build chips for people. And because they build so many, they have such a high priority relationship with people in the supply chain like TSMC. But the thing is, they are very closed off. They very rarely talk about what they're doing. You very rarely see them at events, let alone presenting or showing off silicon. I actually think they've been more open in the last 3 or 4 years, and you see them at IEEE technical events more than this event. Now, I've seen Charlie twice this year. He was at Cadence Live a few months ago doing a big overview of essentially the AI market. But here at Raise, he was showing off the sorts of packages they build for their clients. So in our notes here, Broadcom President Charlie Kawas used his appearance at Raise to unveil mock-ups of future packaging designs, some of which may be scaled up for dramatic effect, but still hint at real products in Broadcom's pipeline. The standout was a design nicknamed the Beast, that's the one on the right, expected to land about 2028, a double-decker package with 2 dies face bonded together alongside stacked memory. And there's 16 memory chips in the mock-up. Broadcom says it already has 4 companies eager to get hands on chips at this scale, suggesting customer demand is driving the roadmap. Now, I'm undecided whether I'm going to have an article or a video on this, but Charlie went into some very specific numbers. So the chip on the left, as you're seeing here, and if I go to this one, you might see a bit better. The chip on the left is essentially one compute die with 6 HBMs, 4 or 6 HBMs, and a lot of chips being built today look like that. The one in the middle looks more like a MI 350, 350X. That's either got 2 or 4 compute die and then 12 HBMs. The one on the right is 8 compute die on top, bonded to 8 compute die on the bottom, or one of them might be SRAM. Then 16 HBMs or more with I/O on the top and bottom. And just to clarify here from Fat Guile, who needs that much compute for a phone? This is Broadcom, not Qualcomm. So these are the people who make big packages like this. Now, you have to understand that what's important here is, can they actually do it? And it all depends on TSMC's timeline. So TSMC, part of their marketing is that they tell you about how big of a reticle size of a chip they can build. And what by reticle size, we mean the biggest chip you can make, something like this I have here. If that's the biggest chip you can make, that's just the shiny bit is 1 reticle. If you take the area of the package, that's obviously a multiple of the reticle. In this case, it's like 2 point something, or maybe even 3. I'm bad at judging sizes on these sorts of things. TSMC's roadmap talks about how many reticle sizes they can deal with in packaging. And the idea is that you have one reticle, which is a silver bit. You have 3 reticles, which is the size of the package, all the way up to about 40 reticles, which is the size of a wafer. So what we're seeing here is something like 3 on the left, 5.5 in the middle, and about 13 to 15 on the right. And I believe TSMC's roadmap next gen is 11. And what Charlie was saying, the guy on the right, he was saying this is like a 2028 product. Now, in terms of numbers, Charlie also said the one on the left is about 1 million units for the year it came out. The one in the middle was about 3 million units. And the one on the right will be 6 million units the first year it comes out, which, if you take the amount of silicon, is about a 50-fold increase in silicon in 3 generations. He said out of the 5 top frontier labs companies, so we're talking about Google, XAI, Anthropic, 4 out of those 5 are engaging with Broadcom with devices on the right-hand side. And one of those companies, they're engaging with 1 gigawatt worth of silicon this year, or 1.5, 5 gigawatts of silicon next year, and up to 10 gigawatts of silicon the year after. So silicon upon silicon upon silicon. Turns out Broadcom's going to make a lot of money. A lot of money. And this is all due to AI. So if you're wondering where your silicon going, you're wondering where your memory is going, this big ass chip here. And George has just arrived, so let's get George's fresh opinion on the beast.
Apologies, I was helping a family member with something, and my phone was on quiet, so I didn't see your calls.
That's fine.
Apologies. Yeah, so she's a biggin. Hold on, let me. 16 HBM stacks, which is
So it says HBM. It could be other things as well.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking it more from a interposer perspective. Is this would this be CoWoS S, or would this be something like CoWoS L or
CoWoS
SYC-X, something like that?
S doesn't scale this far. L might. TSMC also have their internal bridge technology as well, and I think that's a form of L.
Yes, it would be. I think technically similar to EMIB, and in that area.
Yeah. But they're also saying 3D stacking on this. So those 8 red compartments, Charlie picked one off and it showed a blue one underneath, or a purple one, sorry. And he insinuated they were both compute. One may be compute, one may be memory or control. And as at KFC enjoyer based, yes, I think we all are. Though that being said, American KFC does taste different. How do you cool silicon on silicon on silicon? The answer is very difficultly.
I was gonna say you don't, or microfluid channels has to start becoming standard.
Well, there are companies that do front side and backside cooling. That's a thing. Unfortunately, backside is about 1% as efficient or as effective than front side.
Yeah.
And I'll say again, if you want to do microfluidics or micro channels, the issue is IBM has a lot of patents on it.
Well, not just that. It's like manufacturability is not a term I would associate with microfluidic channels, but
our good friend Sally says, well, how much power can you reasonably get in and out of one package, though? And I think the answer is Cerebrus.
Yeah. I mean, arguably, how big is if the wafer is the package, then you have so much cross area, right?
But if you have to put in, say, like 1,000 amps per square centimeter, which some of these massive chips have to, then maybe your power delivery is almost as expensive as your chip.
Yes, which is hilarious to say in terms of like the bill of materials, but
yeah, I mean, put together, it's still 2% the cost of the memory, but it's if memory is 98% of your cost, does it matter whether you've bought the 32 core or the 200 core?
no, and actually, that's a topic to bring up when we talk about advancing AI and what Zen 6 Qs may look like.
The problem with having big packages is what NVIDIA experienced with the launch of Blackwell. Because if you remember, Blackwell was delayed 6-8 months by the end of it, because they were having both thermal issues and stress strain warpage issues. Because I mean, the package is bigger than this, right? It's like twice the size of this. And I've been saying it for a while, but it finally got out that it looks like NVIDIA Rubin Ultra is cancelled. Apparently, Jensen says it isn't, but everybody else is saying it is. And that was essentially 4 of these, or 2 and a bit of these, side by side. So you got a really long package because you had 4 compute die and I guess 16 HBMs. Yeah. 4 per.
Yes. Yeah. It would have been 4 and 16. Yes.
The thing to note is, and I wonder if we can get that the faked image up in the back, Dom, because I want to show it off. One of the key properties when it comes to building chips this size, funny enough, is this concept of aspect ratio, right? How square is your chip? Because if you make it long and thin, it's really difficult in terms of how you manage your stress and your strain and your thermals. And if we look on the left, right, that's fairly square. I mean, that's pretty much this. This is my quad peaks, if you remember it, George.
Yes.
And this is basically square. The one in the middle, which is like the MI350X type design, or the Blackwell design,
rectangular but still fairly square.
Yeah, that image makes it look like it's very square, very rectangular, with a high aspect ratio on the right. The problem is, I'm taking this photo at an angle, and realistically, it looks more like that.
Oh, big chunky.
This is an AI modified image. We asked it to correct for lens, and for angle, and it's probably not accurate, but I think it's a better showcase of what really, and that's why I used it for the background in the thumbnail of the Poutine this week. So this is what happens if you take out the speakers. And I think this is more what it looks like. So you're getting into a more square aspect ratio. And the problem with Rubin Ultra, and I'll be on, not to toot my own horn too much. That's for other people to toot. But I kind of did say it when it launched. That looks a bit long.
Yeah.
That being said, some of Intel's consumer chips.
Well, my thing with it was never that it was too long, although it is very. I
mean, look at that aspect ratio.
Yeah, it's very long. My thing always was, in my opinion, right? Granted, I am not an architect, so what do I know? This was never going to be one GPU, at least exposed to
you mean
software.
It'd be more like an MI250 or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be more like MI250, just because, like, think of it from the perspective of I'm trying to hit a cache line in the leftmost die from the rightmost die, and think about that travel and the amount of power that would take, and all that.
Well, I mean, as we move into better interconnect, either copper or optical, the
Mhm.
idea is that while we're moving to big chunk, at some point we can disaggregate the chunk into smaller chunk.
Yeah. And really, I guess the thing is not necessarily going through that many dies, it's that distance that's sort
Yeah.
of the issue.
So one way to solve this, and it's kind of like the Clearwater Forest way, is that instead you have each of these compute dies, you've got 8, right? A
Mhm.
pair of them share an interposer.
Mm.
And so you end up with 4 interposers. That way
Mhm.
you can be all to all connected through the
Mhm.
interposer. So the amount of hops you do to any other chip except the one on your own interposer is the same.
Yeah.
And that's why AMD does a ring of rings with its CPU. Because
Well,
your latency to any other CPU that's not on your same compute die should be the same within, depending on how it goes
okay.
around the ring. But yes,
Debatably if it's a ring or not, but
it's
I see what you
yes,
mean.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's
It would be a different ring of rings to what Intel does with mesh.
yes, yeah. And the problem with mesh is the fan out latency.
Yeah.
And I've been reading a lot of stuff about latency recently, as it pertains to agentic, right? So
Yeah.
so discussion questions for Broadcom: is the Beast a realistic engineering target for 28, or is this just for shock?
For 28, I think that's a little bit aggressive. If they had said 29, yeah.
Maybe risk 28, volume 29.
Yeah, that I could see.
Yeah.
Like risk like end of year 28, production end of year 29. Yeah, I could buy that.
What does having 4 of the biggest I'll reword this slightly. What does having 4 of the frontier model labs already lined up for chips this size say about demand? They want big chunk.
Yes, they like them big and they like them
Sexy.
yeah. I was gonna say full of memory, but that also works.
Yeah. The industry is bifurcating incredibly, and one of the topics that keeps coming up is the training tax. If you build a chip for training and inference, you're paying a tax by not being that good at either. And B200 kind of sits. I mean, Google with the TPUs has split, right? They have a training chip, they have an inference chip. You could argue that NVIDIA has like the, they'll have the R200 and the R300 or whatever it's going to look like. And then they have the lower cut down versions for inference.
Yeah.
But realistically, people just buy an NVL 72 or a Kyber, and they run either training or inference on it.
Actually, that does bring up an interesting question, because those, I don't know if those cutouts were actually there on the actual thing that Broadcom was showing.
They were.
Oh, it was. Are those? I was gonna say, is that NPO/CPO?
Yeah, that will be, because it's about that time frame, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that'll be for direct chip to chip or chip to memory optics. You're probably right. Those look more NPO than CPO. I think. Yeah. For those of you who aren't embedded in this space, NPO is like on package, and CPO is on interposer. And annoyingly, what NVIDIA calls CPO, the rest of the industry calls NPO.
Lele Sochu in chat. This is Lunar Lake. This is Lunar Lake. But also Jay says, Tech Poutine, 16th of July, 2026. We like Big Chalk and we cannot lie. Which is very true. Gotta love the big chalky silicons.
It could also mean we need to lose weight, George. We've been having too much of the poutine.
Hey, I just bought some very nice walking/running shoes, so
I bought socks.
You bought socks? Why do you need to buy socks? Just get them from vendors. I think half my sock drawer is Cornelis networking socks.
I only got a pair. My Marvell ones have holes in it. My Samanova ones are okay. My Arista ones were good for the first month. And after repeated washing, they're just not good anymore. My AMD ones are fine. I am on the lookout for a good pair of socks, and when I find them, I'll buy 20 pairs. So same with shorts right now. But okay, back to the topic at hand. How might face bonded dual die designs with memory change the packaging competition landscape? I was actually doing a little bit of research this week because if you want advanced packaging, the company who does the most is TSMC. The company that does the most advanced, would you consider that also TSMC, or does Intel have a stake there?
So I think in terms of 3D stacking, it's TSMC without a doubt. For 2.5D, I think there's some arguments to be made between the two, but depending on what exactly the Apple M5 SOIC-X uses for its pitch and all that fun stuff, that could be the most advanced. So
yeah, I think Intel's problem is they haven't had a proper Foveros product at 9 micron pitch, and they kind of skipped 6 going straight to 4, and so they need a strong 4 actually, wasn't all of Arrow Lake and Raptor Lake Foveros?
It was EMIB. Raptor Lake is not Foveros/EMIB, or
it was 3D stacked.
No, there's no. Okay, there's technically the base die, but as far as I know, that base die is functionally just acting as an interposer. It's not really active logic, as far as I understand.
No, but my point is, it's still hybrid bonding, not C4 pillars.
No,
right?
it's as far as I know, it's C4 /
Oh, okay. That's right. That's right.
Like
because
standard balls.
Intel has Foveros, which is standard, which is C4, and Foveros Direct, which is hybrid bonding.
Yeah, which is not confusing at all.
And then Foveros Omni, which is both.
And then I think Foveros Omni includes EMIB, I think. It's 3D stacking and EMIB.
So it's 3.5D.
Yes, I think in AMD parlance, yes.
The thing is, Broadcom has its own stacking technology called XSIP. 3.5D XSIP. So XS, small I, capital P. And yeah, they have a documentation on the website about it. And I'm just showing the socks you can buy, the EUV socks, at the Tech Potato store. If you're that way inclined. They're pretty good. I've been wearing them for a couple of weeks now.
Really?
I mean, not every day. They get washed and they just go back into rotation. But yeah, So that's Broadcom in a nutshell. And you mentioned it already, so let's get straight on to AMD. And here's a Genoa with a... Who took that picture with a hair on it? They have Advancing AI,
Yes.
which is the yearly show. It's slowly becoming their GDC.
Yeah.
And you can tell because last year was in a hotel. This year is in the Moscone Center.
Well, last year it wasn't in a hotel. It was in San Jose Convention Center.
Was it?
Yes.
For some reason I remember it being mostly in a hotel.
That is where a lot of meetings were held, but the actual like event was on
Yeah. So San Jose or Santa Clara?
San Jose.
Okay. Well, this time it's in the Moscone, where we used to have IDF.
Yeah.
And Semicon West. This is a picture from last year. It's a 2-day event, and I believe the first day is essentially briefings and behind-the-scenes stuff, and then the second day is the public keynote, Lisa Su, public demos, everything else. They have 112 talks. I'll read our notes here. AMD's flagship AI event returns to San Francisco's Moscone Center on July 22nd, 23rd, with CEO Dr. Lisa Su headlining a keynote alongside AMD executives, ecosystem partners, customers, and developers. The event, now in its third year, is expected to center on AMD's next-generation MI400 accelerators and EPYC Venice Zen 6 server CPUs. Beyond confirming these products, AMD is also expected to preview further out, giving early insight into next-generation MI500 and Zen 7. This is following the pattern from last year, where AMD unveiled MI350 and ROCm 7 alongside Helios and Zen 6. Beyond silicon, the show is leaning heavily into infrastructure and software ecosystem. As mentioned in the chat, George Hotz is going to be presenting with Tiny Corp. And one of our former peers at WCCF Tech is also presenting. He is going to be talking about local AI. So I haven't got my schedule yet for the event. Have you?
I have, and
are you busy?
So you know how companies oftentimes like to jam these events with a ton of like stuff, yes, and they don't give writers enough time to do writing.
You're talking to a guy who got briefed on IBM's NanoStack 7A with less than 12 hours notice and still wrote 7,000 words. But yes, go on.
Yeah, basically that.
So you're expecting to get the information the night before?
No. Like, well, yeah, like basically, I've asked AMD if they could do so, like if they could at least get, yeah, but we'll see. So one thing I will say that's in our notes that hasn't been said, but a slight correction for Dom, because I didn't catch this on the first read. Verano, as far as what's known, isn't actually Zen 7. It's Zen 6, but it's Zen 6 with LPDDR.
Okay.
Which is supposed to go into MI500's Helios, whatever they want to call that.
If they keep calling it Helios and just say like this is Helios 2026, this is Helios 2027, like cars, it'd be much easier to track, would it not?
Than whatever NVIDIA is doing, because that name always changes.
Kyber 170 something now?
Yeah. I think it's Kyber 144 now, because they've just admitted that you can't actually do the whole GPU package thing because
Well,
that's silly.
Well, no, that's 144, but 2 dies per CPU, so it's actually 72 GPUs.
No, it's 144 GPUs.
Okay,
It's not 72.
so they've gone back on some Jensen math. Okay,
Yes, because a lot of people were upset with the Jensen math.
yeah, it's. I mean, I'm expecting, at least as an analyst, to get some roundtable time with Forrest Norrod, Dan McNamara, the key people in the chain. If there's time, there'll be Anush, who's in charge of software, and Rockham. I know they're even flying in AMD people from Germany for it, because I bumped into some in Paris.
Oh, interesting.
And I asked them, "Are you going to be at Advancing AI next week?" And they went, "Yeah."
Interesting.
So, like I say, they're making this a proper event. They've actually just hired both a new CCO and CMO.
Oh, have they?
And I forget which one it is, but he's really interested in making sure everybody knows about AMD. So he wants everybody in the tent, everybody under the AMD banner. So that's also one of the reasons why this event is going to be much bigger than any before. That, and I think they finally have some money to do it.
That does help. So I was going to say, going back to the comment that I was making during the Broadcom session, what I think something that either hasn't quite been realized by most people or is sort of going unnoticed is that we know that the Zen 6C, the reduced size but higher core count version of Zen 6,
the Venice Dense,
yes, has 256 cores, which is an increase over
192.
Over 192. However, the interesting thing is that we are with 99% certainty that the smaller CCD is not 16 cores, but is in fact 12 cores per CCD, right? And looking at the image that AMD had for Venice and all the rumor mill, rumor mill says that you'll only be able to get up to 96 Zen 6 cores per standard cores per package. Okay, that's a decrease by 100 from 128 cores to 96.
I can think of a couple of reasons why that might be the case. One is the writing on the wall for agentic between P and E cores, essentially, about what's needed where. Two, the architecture design might necessitate it. Three, they're bumping up the cache a massive amount.
So,
or four, they had to put in so many failure recovery modes into the silicon for it being the first on N2.
So I think we do know a little bit more than that.
Or power.
So what we do know, at least know in the sense that it's on open benchmarking. You can go and find this, I think. I think it's still up. But there's an LSCPU, and if you know anything about LSCPU, it does give you a reported clock speed. And this reported clock speed is about 4 gigahertz. And the thing is, if you think about it from a product perspective, if
is that 4 base?
It just said it's just 4 gigahertz. No, there was no differentiation between base and boost.
Okay.
I think that's actually the boost clock. I think that is what LSCP reports,
right,
is the boost. But if you think about it from the perspective of, from a product perspective, if you're already having your dense cores clock up to 4 gigahertz, or potentially even north of that, why do you need a classic version? Why would you need a
Because-
128 core classic Zen 6?
Because more cache, L3 cache per core. For the workloads that need it.
Vcache.
Why would you need Vcache at all?
Because fundamentally the amount of cache per CCD wouldn't change. So your accessible L3 per software thread wouldn't change.
Let me put this to you. What if this generation's Vcache models have 2 stacks? And there's just a fundamental thermal limit long term if you have more than 96 cores in this design.
I mean, maybe. But again, I still think from a product perspective, like if you think about what would use ultra high clock speed parts, or what would use high per core memory bandwidth because of the way that AMD does its architecture, even in Venice.
True. Yep.
A single CCD likely, even in Zen 6, won't be able to saturate all of the memory bandwidth, but it will be able to, say, saturate. If you have fewer cores, basically you can spread that bandwidth out between fewer cores, is my point. I'm kind of butchering what I'm saying, but
maybe
I think you get what I see.
Maybe it's because they want a max CPU.
I hated this. This was like...
So for those of you unaware, what we're showing on the screen now is a press release put out by NVIDIA about 10 days ago saying why peak single-threaded performance per core matters, why Vera Max, and why people rely on having a consistent high frequency, regardless of load, single core, single performance design. Now, what they're going on here about is max single threaded CPUs. Therefore, if you have single thread per core, better. If it's high performance, better. Strong performance under load. Memory bandwidth per core, which is all about fewer cores at high speed.
Yeah, which...
But predictable latency is about not having turbo. I mean, turbo is an additional, not a reduction. Yeah. Turbo takes advantage of spare power you have. If you're saying here's a 300 watt CPU that runs every core at 3 gigahertz all the time, or here's a CPU which has a base frequency of 2.8, but sometimes turbo is up to 3.6.
Yeah. And also, speaking of this whole feeding the GPU thing, granted, this probably doesn't have much to do with that in terms of like the actual performance delta here, but there was a patch submitted to the Linux kernel that there's basically a bug in Vera with regards to its MMIO that had to be worked around, which I just find very funny, considering that a large part of what Vera will be doing is acting as IO for Rubin.
So this is their ability to provide translate virtual to physical addresses.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. This graph
is I just found it very funny because they're like max single-threaded performance. Great. And then IO stuff. And then there was the whole PCIe bug that I think Vera has. Bug? Yeah, the same. I think it's basically the same bug that Ampere had.
Oh, geez.
That wasn't actually in Grace, but Vera may have it, if I remember the changelog correctly.
There's a reason why people are buying or want x86 versions of NVL, and there's a reason why Intel and AMD can't keep them in stock right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's. I mean, I kind of push back on ARM about this, and some of it's justified, some of it's just to get a response. They say they're at what 30-40% of server now, and they're trying to push to 50. Most of it is NVIDIA, mixed with a bit of Graviton, mixed with a bit of Axion, mixed with a bit of Cobalt, and now AGI CPU. But that's gonna go by the wind when Facebook is working with Qualcomm now on a CPU.
That was very funny.
I don't think we added Qualcomm's event.
I think we kind of talk about it last time.
I know, but I think I've dwelt on it a lot more since then.
Okay.
So I had a lot more to say. Actually, let's finish up some AMD here, because this is an event again. George and I will be at next week, and then we'll both be at DAC the week after. So we should be finding some time to get a poutine in. I'm gonna have a place by the beach.
Oh,
I found somewhere cheaper than the Queen Mary in Long Beach, because DAC is held at Long Beach Convention Center.
Yeah.
I booked it, checked my email, and then realized I had a room booked already.
That's
event,
funny.
The event organizers said, "Hey, if you get here, we have a room for you," and I completely forgot they told me that. So, yeah, I think my room is better because I'm literally 70 yards from the beach, so nice. I'll be fine. Yeah. So questions on the AMD thing. Given last year's teaser, how big a leap do you expect MI450 to represent? Is it going to be incremental or actually generational?
So, in terms of the scale outs, the scale up and the scale out, that will be generational.
The big rack scale systems.
Yes, and there's some interesting stuff with what's known as GFX 1251 in LLVM commits, which I think is MI430, so the HPC one, that makes it look like it is. I remember we were talking on the last tech routine about accelerators that were HPC focused, like Line Shine. MI430 looks to actually be like an actual HPC optimized accelerator. But in terms of MI355 to 455, it will probably be generational because it is shifting off of the very long used GFX9, also known as the Vega base. So it's transitioning from a GCN architecture to more of what looks like RDNA based, or I should say derived architecture. So this is actually going to be quite a big shift. And I look forward to asking AMD questions about it, as I am wont to do.
What about CPU side, Zen 5 to Zen 6?
We know that the packaging is different, because you can see that, and you can go read our article on chipsandcheese.com about when Lisa first held up Venice at CES, which is where these slides are from. And we did some very basal die measurements on what it could be for the die size. And again, I think that's going to be generational, which is going to be interesting. The core may not have changed a ton, but I don't know. I'm speculating here. The core may not have changed a massive ton, though we do know that the schedule layout has changed, which is very interesting, and I want to go ask about that as well. So things that I want to go ask AMD about. Shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, just a second. It's coming. I can hear it. Sure. It's. I finally opened my Genoa system.
It's taken you long enough.
And we have these CPU.
It's a big package.
And I'm getting a massive moire effect.
Yeah.
So here we go. So this is the CPU.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 9575F. So the high frequency one. 64 cores, if I remember correctly, or
64
32
cores. So Grill D 420 in the chat says it'll be interesting to see if they make a high frequency 96 core version of Zen 6 because they didn't publicly list one for Zen 5. The reason for that has to do with GMI wide, which is the wider bus to the memory per CCD, and presumably with the new packaging in Venice, that will allow AMD to go from essentially only 8 CCDs able to have GMI wide to it would still be 8, but all 96 cores because it's a 50% increase. So that is why.
And this is the 9965. This is the 192, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. That's a Zen 5C. That's the 196 core.
Yep, 384 cores, threads, and then you put 2 in a system.
It's I mean, when we get two Venice CPUs in a system, we'll have a kilo thread.
Yeah.
So
it's
anyway.
Other discussion question here. Is AMD's open ecosystem positioning around ROCm actually moving the needle against CUDA lock-in, or is this just a battle that they'll never win?
That is the penultimate question.
I mean, we're on what, ROCm 7.1 now?
7.2.4 on the stable releases. However, there was a big update last night that I was up till about midnight combing through.
And
their new build system, known as the Rock, has officially been merged into the ROCm preview, aka what's known as the 7. Basically the 7.9 plus branch, so 7.9, 7.10. The new 7.14 version that came out last night has integrated the Rock into that preview version, which is likely what's going to become ROCm 8, which I would expect to see announced at Advancing AI.
Can I just say one of my personal bugbears with you Gen Z lot? 7.14. No such thing as 7.14.
No, it's 7.14 because there's no point. It's 14.
It's 7.14 because that's how you say numbers. Bloody Minecraft. I'm blown.
Okay. Yes. You can. They even call it 7.14. I've literally heard it called 7.14.
And they are wrong. They are wrong.
Look.
Well, okay. So to answer your thing about CUDA versus ROCm, I was playing around, as I do when I'm bored, with my models, and I did a Jensen Huang version of Computer Says No meme. And for some reason, it put this little figurine on his desk. And I want to make this. I need to remove that from screen first. That is amazing.
10 out of 10, no notes.
It's all I need to do is get this into a 3D printable file format find somebody with two-tone 3D printers
Oh my
and just go
god.
to town. It's amazing.
Oh my god.
I love it.
I literally no comment. 10 out of 10, no notes.
I mean, you could argue it doesn't look like him, and that's just for legally distinct reasons.
Yes.
But it's got a jacket.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the jacket. It's the pose.
Yeah, it's a legally distinct, different character.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, I thought that was fun. Oh. Okay,
The
so
coffee tried to kill me.
it's not in your Nvidia mug, is it? Broccoli Jensen. Eat your greens.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's a shirt.
Eat your greens. So in terms of so those were the two major topics that we had planned: Broadcom and advancing AI. But we do have like a half dozen mini topics that we should get through here. I've picked the first two. George, do you want to pick the next one?
So actually, I was going to say in chat, Punished Harambe says unrelated to this, but does anyone in chat know when Ian's coming out with an etched video? So I think our next topic should be etched to answer this question.
Okay. Yep. Let's go. Let me. Oh, you can read. You can read our notes.
Etch has come out of funding. Has come out of stealth. Excuse me. They have 800 million in funding, and they have a chip already. They built their first chip on N4P. Whether or not the chip that they're talking about in this press release is a test chip or their actual chip, they didn't clear up. Could be either.
It's you can read it verbatim. We actually made it now, so it's verbatim now, and then we can get into the discussion. Oh, you don't have it in front of you.
No, I do, but there's nothing verbatim here. It's just the questions.
It's because you put that in the group chat, Dom, not on the Poutine chat. It's okay. I'll read it.
Okay.
Inference chip startup Etched has emerged from stealth with 800 million in total funding, and already has a working chip built on TSMC's N4P process, alongside more than $1 billion in customer orders. The company is introducing two notable technologies: low voltage inference, where they claim it runs at half the voltage of competing chips to reduce heat and avoid throttling, and cluster scale memory, a rack scale memory approach designed to blend the benefits of HBM and SRAM while avoiding each other's downsides. Etched approach bakes transformer model support directly into silicon. Their Sohu chip delivers 500,000 tokens per second in an 8-chip rack compared to NVIDIA's B200. And it says here, a bold claim worth scrutinizing. And it's worth noting that as of the start of this, Poutine, their website's SSL certificate appeared to be expired.
It's still up for me. I can still access it.
Okay, it's fixed. It's fixed. So yeah, this announcement came through. The announcement was they'd raised another 500 million or something in their Series B for a $8 billion evaluation, and yet they still haven't put a chip out. All they've done is been in stealth and said Transformers. If Transformers fail, then we fail. So from what I understand, their original design was essentially what Talos is doing, basically etching it Transformers into silicon. It's not, by the way.
That I was going to say that has changed. So they've changed their architecture.
So our friend Sally Ward Foxton from EE Times did visit them last year and did go through the offices where they claim to have servers running chips. I am of the opinion that that was now a test chip.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing things like low voltage inference and this
Mhm.
memory technology that they're talking about, best have a test chip first, make sure it works before you scale up. I have seen the chip. It looks like a standard chip.
Mm-hmm.
As you might imagine, one big monolith with HBM.
Yep.
Their co-founder Rob showed it off at Raise last week. I eventually got to have a chat with him.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it was all off the record, so I can't say anything that was related to that discussion.
Mhm.
What I can say is that the original vision is still in play.
Mhm.
It's not as bad as George was saying in terms of, they are a transformer first company, but not a rigid. It's not
Mhm.
a rigid ASIC design versus a programmable design. It's still a programmable design. It's just a programmable design for transformers,
Mhm.
and still with a heavy bet on that. Their argument is that when they first were formed, I think 3-4 years ago now, or maybe even
Mhm.
less, 2 years ago,
Yeah,
they
I remember talking about them 3-ish years ago.
yeah, it's because at the time the story was, hey, it's some Harvard dropouts, right?
Mhm.
I found out a bit more background on the people behind it now as well. But their mantra, and Rob said this at Ray's on stage, is execution, execution, execution.
Mhm.
So they plan to be in market a year ahead of other companies who started at a similar time.
Mm.
Part of that, so essentially their focus is go to market.
Mhm.
They want to go to market first ahead of everyone in that sphere. And literally let the execution of their chip cadence be the thing that judges them. Now,
Mm.
of course, that costs money if you
Mhm.
want to go fast, but if you can leverage off-the-shelf design, then it makes sense. The when I read the announcement, low voltage inference stood out as a pain in the butt. If you know anything about transistor design, you'll know that transistors have what's called a Vmin, which is their
Mhm.
minimum threshold voltage to switch. Now, it doesn't mean it can switch fast. And the way a transistor switches is that you give it enough voltage such that electrons can flow in the gate material.
Mhm.
And in the physics of chip design, especially modern chip design, is for every 65 millivolts, the
Mhm.
amount of electrons that can flow increases by an order of magnitude. Or
Mm.
for the other type of transistor, the amount of holes. I won't get into the weeds there too much, but it means if you have 65 millivolts, you get 10 times as many transistors. You have 130,
Mhm.
you have 100 times. 195, you have 1,000 times. The switching voltage is when the transistor officially goes from off to on. We feel it as a binary, but that's because
Mhm.
when you use 1 volt, you increase by 12 orders of magnitude. You have 1,000 billion or a trillion
Mhm.
times more electrons going through, and that's your big on and off state. When you're dealing with Vmin, you are only, I guess, 6 orders of magnitude difference from off. So how do you tell? And
Mhm.
the biggest industry that's taken, I know the answer to this, what's in the chat, by the way. The biggest industry that uses low voltage transistors right now, if you want to take a guess, George?
Crypto mining.
Crypto mining.
Yeah, crypto miners can usually run somewhere around. I think. Remember, oh God, what was it? When Intel was
Intel 4.
talking about,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, they were talking about how that chip could run at, I think it was 400 or 450 millivolts.
Yep. And if you look at most low voltage designs, you are talking about a threshold voltage of around 350 to 450 millivolts.
Mm-hmm.
And it works for crypto because your crypto engine is a fixed path design. There is no logic involved. It is very much a pipelined design. You can replicate the units ad nauseum.
Yes.
Your input bytes are low, your output bytes are low, and you have no cross communication between compute.
Well, not just that, you have, well, sort of on that, you have very little IO, which is helpful because analog oftentimes needs higher voltage.
So it does for crypto mining make sense to have super low voltage, because if you decrease the voltage by half, you reduce your capacitance by a quarter, right? But the frequency at which you can run at that voltage is actually quite low, right? You switch slower because it's harder to determine if you've switched, but it still takes a lot less power to switch, full stop.
Yes.
And using it in non-fixed function compute is odd. Really odd. So
yes,
that immediately flies up red flag, right?
Yeah. So
especially for something that's claiming to beat NVIDIA by so much.
Yes.
So that's the low voltage inference side.
He's known online as Mystical, but the person who basically does Y-Cruncher was hired by Etched. He's publicly announced this on Twitter. So
the person who makes the software that essentially has had the Pi record for the last 20 years.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Etched have hired a number of people.
Yes.
The fact sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, considering what Mystical did previously in terms of like looking at considering his software was used by people as stress testing for overclocks and for other things, I would be surprised if he had assisted with parts of like finding what their actual stable point in voltage was.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I would not be shocked if he had some part in this sort of finding the lowest voltage that they could.
It's in these designs, you essentially want to make every transistor flip every cycle, because that's your highest power. In order to writing code for that is really, really difficult. So you need a HPC specialist. It turns out the guy that writes the Pi software knows how to make every single transistor flip every cycle to the max. So no, it was a smart hire, for sure. And they have hired a bunch of smart people. The red flag was it's two 25-year-old Harvard dropouts forming this company. I've since learned that one of them was a dropout. The other one wasn't. And they also have behind them some academics as well who came from that era. It just so happens that the face of it happens to be a 26-year-old guy who for some reason went on CNBC to wear a tuxedo shirt buttoned all the way up without a bow tie. Anyway, this is so this is some of the press materials they put out. This is the chip. Again, like I said, 6 HBMs central. So it's a low voltage compute chip with HBM. Okay. It's really surprising that all the decoupling transistors are on the top.
And capacitors.
Yeah, sorry, decoupling capacitors are on the top.
So the one thing I was going to say is when they say low voltage, like, are they talking about? I assume just because of things, the average voltage is probably going to be like something around 0.5, 0.6. But I assume that low voltage inference refers specifically to the ALUs,
Correct.
which may be lower.
Well, no. So I'm expecting it to be 400 millivolts, if not lower.
Because they're saying half of traditional AI accelerators, a big GPU like an H100 or a B200 usually runs somewhere between 800 to 900 millivolts, give or take.
Yep.
So again, half that,
Yep.
400 to 450.
Yep. That's fine. As George said, it's actually the analog stuff that needs higher voltage. So you need to be able to speak to other chips. And that takes power. So this is where the second technology they announced comes in, the cluster scale memory. And they say it's designed to blend the benefits of HBM and SRAM. And this is a diagram they showed. And I turned around and went, what the hell is that? That is way too many cables for it to be liquid cooling alone. And the way I'm looking at it is it sounds like there's a global scratch pad between, or there's several scratch pads between the ALUs. And these might be gigabytes in size, not caches, scratch pads. And you can have direct memory access to other scratch pads on other chips. So your collective bandwidth becomes a 1/r² issue, right? It's how many chips are one hop away, how many chips are two hops away. And therefore, when you have things like broadcasts or reducers, because it's a scratch pad, as long as the compiler works, all faith in the honest compiler.
All hail the almighty compiler.
Trust ye compiler. Then arguably you only need one copy of memory, one copy of everything in the memory. But if you're going to pull something for KV cache from 3 hops away, you got to have some very fast chip connectivity, which is going to need some very fast analog, which is going to need some very high frequency analog. Maybe that's the advantage of having low voltage compute, is that you can jack up your SerDes.
Perhaps.
And I think I know which company did the SerDes, but I can't tell you. So
well, I mean,
so to the original question, where's my video on Etched? I'm still planning on doing it. I just have to be very careful what I say. Most of what that video is what I've said here, so you've got the preview. But there will be some more to talk about later this year.
So, talking about this cluster scale memory, so I'll quote here, quote, "We create a much lower latency shared memory pool across our scale-up domain. We use a proprietary ultra-low latency, high bandwidth interconnect to enable dramatically faster memory access across chips."
Again, scratch pad DMAs.
Yeah. And
if all you have is a big L1 and you can have chips speak to other chips L1s,
this sounds like because with any luck, before advancing AI, there will be a GFX. There will be an article titled "Scrying the GFX 1250" or "Scrying the LLVM leaves for GFX 1250." And something that GFX 1250 adds is what's known as cluster loads, or in NVIDIA parlance, DSMEM, or distributed shared memory. This sounds like distributed shared memory taken to the rack scale, which is interesting.
Yes.
Because traditionally, DSM is limited to parts of a single chip.
Yep.
So I do want to learn more about that. That seems interesting.
Yep. And
Jay,
it's yeah. I'll get to Jay in a second, but all those questions are yes. They know.
Yeah.
They know we have these questions.
Well, you know who would be you know where it would be perfect that they talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
Another conference you and I are both going to called Hot Chips.
They're not on the Hot Chips calendar.
Yes, I know, but Hot Chips calendar has changed a bit, which is
That's a topic we'll get to later.
yeah.
And to address Jay, he thought Etch pitch was we're Talus, but you can change models, and the ASIC part is just the transformer logic inaccurate. It's still transformer based, it's just not hardened. Their initial messaging was transformer, and based on my interpretation of what Rob was saying on stage, it was kind of laid on a bit thick, and people took it excessively. Don't get me wrong, they're still. It didn't help that Gavin, the other CEO, turned around and said, "Well, if transformers don't work, we fail." Right? That's a bit of an excessive exaggeration, I think, but it's still they're still transformer focused overall. It's just in this low voltage domain that feels odd.
The hard question is, I wonder how they feel about diffusion Gemma.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Gemma model, so Gemma 4, but based on diffusers instead of transformers.
We've done a couple of shorts on diffusion-based LLMs.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely hilarious. It looks insane, but it's lower power than token-based LLMs. Dom does say Logan Paul and Martin Shkreli are involved or / connected. I didn't realize Logan Paul would be.
Yeah, they took a picture with Logan Paul and posted it on some social media site. I think it was Twitter.
Is this a Gen Z thing?
I don't know. I'm earlier Gen Z. I'm not part of that crowd.
And Martin Shkreli, who I realized actually follows me on Twitter. Because he responded to a thread.
Martin Shkreli, one of those hated men.
Yeah, so I think he knows who I am.
That's funny.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yes, I wouldn't either.
Oh, hey, he's not hunting me down asking for things. So, discussion questions. What are the trade-offs of building a chip that only runs transformer models, especially as architectures evolve? The issue, I mean, for me, transformers are here to stay. It's a very, maybe complete is the wrong word, but effective hammer. It doesn't hammer everything perfect every time. And actually, as we're moving to agentic, it turns out the whole concept of LLM is less important compared to CPU. I've actually got some ideas for a video on that, which would be interesting.
It's almost as if the web runs on Java.
Still.
Yeah.
That's right. I made a React app today. No. Sorry, I vibe coded a React app based on a research paper. And I just said, make all the equations look pretty, and it gave me a bunch of sliders so I could play around with the variables, so I could plot the points on the graph. It was fine. I'm a kid at heart. That's what it is. Does cluster scale memory represent a genuine architectural innovation, or is it more marketing spin?
Depends on what it is, but yeah, potentially.
I will make this prediction now, right? 2027 is going to be the year of what the fuck memory. With Qualcomm's HBC, with high bandwidth flash, with LP6, with stacked SRAM.
Folded bank HBM, folded bank HBM, folded bank HBM.
With next generation SOCAM 3, I guess, or SOCAM 2 models, they're and then HBM over optics, large banks, CXL making a freaking revival.
Yeah,
You know,
CXL kind of.
from the ashes.
Yeah.
And it turns out CXL only exists because we can't fit more DDR channels on a freaking motherboard.
Yeah.
It's 2027 will be the year of memory technologies,
which will be exciting because memory has stagnated for years.
It's no longer a commodity, and
which
the
is
results,
also scary.
And the results of a lot of research, right? I always find it weird that whenever I've got a lot of content to do, videos, 3, 4, or 5 videos always end up complete around the same time, and then I have nothing for weeks. Memory research feels the same way. So it's if right now we're competing on interconnect. Next year is going to be the year of the memory. 29 might be the year of the optics, right? Though according to other people, this year's the year of Linux.
What year is the year of Linux?
Oh,
the year of the Linux desktop, guys. It's coming. I promise.
Oh, pain in the butt. So, the next one I want to talk about is, let's see if this works. I'll bring it up. Oh, that's behind a paywall already. A company that we know about has rebranded. Let's see if I can put this on the stage. Atomic Semi, the Jim Keller-backed, Sam Zieluth CEO'd company, who wants to become the company that makes a fab-making fab, has rebranded from Atomic Semi to Fab 2. I've got a feeling this name is like saying, well, I'm waiting for PC 2. We've had so many years of PC, how about PC 2? We've had so many years of chess, how about chess 2?
I'll admit I don't particularly. I'm not fond of the rebrand.
Personally, the font is a bit weird. I get
the
where
whole
they're
site
going.
Is a bit.
It's Atomic Semi was nice and geeky. Unfortunately, I think they need more than that, and that's why they're doing it. Right.
Fair.
The whole point here, Atomic Semi, when I visited them years ago now, 2-3 years ago, their whole thing is they wanted to put a system on your desk that you could put a chip in one side, a blank silicon chip in one side, and in the other, it would go through, come out in a day, and you'd have the equivalent of a 22 nanometer chip or more, or better. So instead of processing wafers, it would process individual chips. And rather than it taking 3 months to go through a fab, it would take a day. Now, don't get me wrong, the cost per chip would be a lot higher. But what you're paying for is cycle time. You could iterate fast. You could tape out in a day. That's what they were going for. And when I saw them, they were actually making good progress. The only thing they had to figure out properly was the lithography step. Which,
so the hard part.
Which, to be honest, is a hard part, right?
Yeah.
They weren't talking about how many metal layers they were doing at that point. I think, this is the issue when the company was less than 30 people. I went to see them. They're going above and beyond now. They want to go, oh, this moves around. How awful.
Yes, this whole site design is awful.
Yeah, this is somebody who had too much caffeine in the morning. as it says here, they want to address the entire fab in terms of, well, that doesn't help manufacturing.
No, it's awful. The site is properly terrible.
Yeah. Hang on. There we go. So yeah, they're in San Francisco. It looks like they've just part of the announcement is that they've moved into a space in Austin. That's 120,000 square feet. Something taxes or Samsung in Taylor, which is near Austin. Yep, they're hiring in lots of places. Yeah, okay. Sam Zeloof here. If you his name goes to his YouTube channel. Jim Keller's goes to his Wikipedia page. Has Sam even posted on his YouTube in years?
No.
For those who don't know, Sam was the guy who built chips in his garage. And 6 years ago now, this was before he went to university as well. Yeah, and okay, not that chip. But he essentially bought a bunch of old semiconductor manufacturing equipment off of eBay and the like. Getting chemicals is tough, he said.
Yeah.
Because some of them you really need proper licensing to have. You know, he's buying proper thermal chambers because some of this stuff you have to bake to 1,000 degrees. He was saying his first ever chips he made were he was literally like printing it off on acetate sheets, the masks.
Yeah.
The litho. Because you're making millimeter sized transistors, not micron sized or nanometer sized. And yeah, if you've ever worked in a semiconductor lab at a university, basically it was that, but in his garage.
Yeah.
Let's just say he wasn't on the bread line. Him and his family weren't on the bread line.
No.
If I was into semis at the time, I would not have the capital to do this sort of thing. Oh, yeah. Sorry, this is his showing his Z1. And he even bought machines to do the contact. Z2. Well, this was 4 years ago. This is where he's doing 1,000. And he kind of went viral on Twitter, if you remember.
Yeah, I do. I mean, 2.4 million YouTube views on a video from 4 years ago is not trivial.
This looks very much like what I saw. Yeah, this looks like what I saw when I visited. So that's that. You remember how IBM and companies used to put in little figurines into their chips, and you could, if you etch them, this is what they're doing there. Note the operating system.
Yeah. Oh, hello XP. How are you doing?
Yeah, that's not 11 with an XP skin.
No, that looks like proper XP.
That's because when you buy some of this equipment from shady sources or from no, this is probably proper equipment though. Yeah, when exactly was this? I
think every single person in this chat and did he change the title? Because if you look at the title, it says Fab 2.
Yep.
Yeah,
the comments are 3 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. The question is, how long before China poach him?
I'm pretty sure that everybody in this chat, everyone, has used that very Dell monitor before.
Yeah, in an office of somewhere. So, does the fact that Jim Keller is involved give it more credibility or less?
I don't know.
Jim opens doors, people. Lots and lots and
Yes.
lots of doors. One of the problems I'm having as a company that's growing is dealing with the admin and just
Mhm.
dealing with the other stuff, the indirect not making maybe it would have made sense for me to bring more analysts on board, more video editors on board.
Mhm.
I get an office in London. When you have somebody like Jim Keller, he knows people who can do that.
Mhm.
That's why startups go with a Silicon Catalyst or a Playground Global, because they have the infrastructure to help the smart people do what they do and build value and not get weighted down by filing invoices and trying to answer every single email, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's Fab 2. That was interesting. We got some more news. Do you want to pick another one?
Yeah, let's talk about one or two, Ian.
Hey, it's your choice. I picked one, so you pick one.
No, even our odds, because I'll go with either.
Okay. Yep. Even. Let's go for even.
Okay, so TSMC is investing another 100 billion USD into US fabs after their profits soared this quarter. I don't have like a little. It's not in the sheet,
Yeah.
so I don't have like a.
That's fine. It's so they had their financials yesterday. Yesterday this morning. Because of course Taiwan time. And yeah,
Yes.
making what we say in the UK a buttload of money.
I think the correct answer is not just a butt ton, it's a metric ton. Fudge ton. It's fudge ton.
So the TSMC, the TSMC,
The TSMC. I mean, technically, it is the.
I need a hat that says the TSMC. Well, no, technically it's Taiwan.
Well, isn't it the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company?
No, just Taiwan Semiconductor. But they to date have announced, or before this yesterday, had announced 100 billion investment in Arizona, of which the first fab is up and running. The next 3 on the same plot of land are set to be built. An advanced packaging facility is also set to be built once the first 4 are done. They had bought the plot of land across the road, which is of a similar size to the whole infrastructure where they're currently building. But they hadn't dedicated any extra money to it yet until now.
Okay.
And so this 100 billion is primarily going to Arizona.
Okay.
So this yes is likely to be another 4 plants. Another I forget how many wafers the Fab 1, the first fab in Arizona, does. I want to say when it's up and running, it's more like it's not a gigafab. It's like 40,000 maybe wafer starts per month.
Yeah, 40 to 50,000, I think.
Yeah. So essentially when all 4 are built out, it's 2 gigafabs worth, and now they're going to do another 2 gigafabs worth on the other side of leading edge. Again, given the US administration, this is suck up number 647 by the semiconductor community, because you have to play the game. And so by committing 100 billion, it makes Orange Cheeto look good, because he's getting companies to invest onshore, and therefore tariffs might not be a thing. That being said, some people are talking about the threat of tariffs is why Apple might be using Intel for some of its chips next gen. So Mr. Veptis has a really good point here. 100 billion seems like a lot. The CHIPS Act was only 40-50.
Yeah, it was like 40. It was like 55. Although the equity stuff was independent of the CHIPS Act, at least as far as the Intel stuff was concerned.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't? I thought it was.
No, the money that Intel got from the CHIPS Act, or was Intel was went to get what 11 billion from the CHIPS Act. They'd got like 1.8.
Uh-huh.
And the government said, well, if you give us equity, we'll give you the rest, no strings attached.
Oh.
So CHIPS Act money is always strings attached, kind of.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, usually those sort of acts are strings attached as sub level.
Yeah, and so they and the string was equity that and Intel said, gimme, for that. So yeah, so we've got Trump supposedly telling Apple, build at Intel or we'll put tariffs on your chips coming in.
Well, that's like, there was a report from, and I tweeted about this, about how Intel got AMD as a customer for their fab, to which my response is,
no,
unless
IO
the US government is making AMD put FPGAs for the United States military and or US government on to Intel, I don't see how AMD would ever move.
Well, the problem there is that Intel does a lot of DARPA work. And people get confused between DARPA and retail, because NVIDIA has done a good chunk of DARPA work at Intel to test to make sure whether 18A is feasible for some things. Does that mean that so for a long time, NVIDIA was listed as a future user of 18A, and people were thinking this is low-end GPUs, whatever. And like, no, it was a DARPA program. It was Ramp C.
Yeah.
It was a packaging trial. And a non-committal, basically saying, we're giving you money to go work with your competitors to see if you can use your competitors' stuff.
Yeah.
So there's that. Is there anything else in here? Oh yeah. Semiconductor people are going to Taiwan and China, but then people from Samsung are coming to Intel.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
It always goes both ways.
Yeah. And then obviously TSMC has to spend a lot to make a lot. If you're a worker on the line, it's better to go work at SK Hynix. Apparently, having an SK Hynix branded jacket is a massive flex in South Korea, as in it gets you the ladies.
Yeah, when your bonuses are 800,000 a year, I wonder why.
Well, for the first year, yeah. The shares have come down a bit since. SK Hynix is the biggest recipient. It's funny showing this graph going back 12 months. Nvidia's share price has only risen 24%. They've only gone from a $4 trillion to a $5 trillion company. Damn it. Yeah. So this is reporting by our good friend Wenyi over at Reuters. She gets a good amount of scoop, and yeah, so they're gonna spend more than 64 billion next year globally. TSMC, is that the company with the highest capex in the world, aside from the hyperscalers? Because like Microsoft say they're doing 80 or whatever.
I believe so. Yeah,
must be one of the highest.
I think in terms of capex, yeah. And
I'm gonna see if I can get some numbers.
Yeah. So
it just means more events in Arizona.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the semiconductors are.
I guess it's semi-local to me.
It's like an hour and 30-minute flight, isn't it? I've been to Phoenix. I've been to Phoenix enough times, and our good friend Patrick Kennedy's based out there.
Yeah, so it's like a 5-hour drive for me. to Phoenix.
Okay. So according to people on Substack, Amazon is at the top with 200 billion capex for
Mhm.
26. Google at about 170, Meta at about 120, Microsoft at about 105, and then Oracle. Wait, is that? Oh, that's by a different source. Okay, never mind.
What's Intel capex
12 to 14, I think, because
per
they've been
year or
driving it
per quarter?
per year. They've been oh no, sorry, 24 maybe. They've been driving it down hard in their cost cutting, right? Oh no, sorry. Oracle has the highest capex as a share of revenue. Their capex is 86%, which is insane. Mr. Veptis, there is no such thing as commodity memory anymore.
Yeah.
If you want DDR or NAND, sorry, it's not commodity. It's a scarce resource. Just be thankful. Well, heavy metals. That's always an issue. Apparently, I was watching a video. China has restricted exports of gallium to Japan for like the last 2 years, and it's causing chaos in the industries that need gallium. And speaking of loads of money, let's see if I can get rid of this element. It's going to be dark. China memory chip maker CXMT aims to raise 8.6 billion in Asia's biggest IPO of 2026. Everybody knows the three big chip makers: Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung. The world's fourth biggest is CXMT. China only, doing China things. We're at a point now where a number of OEMs, like Lenovo and HP and Dell, are validating CXMT memory for use in the West. They're already validated for use in China. Corsair has even launched a kit of memory using CXMT modules, and they're catching up quite fast. That being said, it's easy to catch up the first 80%. It's hard to catch up the last 20%. But in a market where capacity is everything, it doesn't matter if you can't hit the last 20% of performance if you can go for capacity. So CXMT looks to raise, so that's a valuation of 8.6 billion. That's a quarter or less than, that's 15% of a Cerebras, which sounds insane.
Is Cerebras really that big?
Cerebras's peak valuation after IPO was 95. I believe they're down to 45 now.
Okay.
And that's just because AI hardware IPO, Grok made loads of money, therefore big things, and then everybody sold.
But so I see in chat, how is CXMT only 8 billion? Well, what's not in here is what percentage is this actually going to, like, is this, let's say, 2% of all CXMT shares? Is this 10%? Is this all 100%? Probably isn't.
Let's see if I can find a source without a paywall.
But
okay, this is the FT. Yeah.
So yeah, we don't know what.
So they're set to IPO. They haven't actually done it yet.
Yeah. Granted, SK Hynix also just IPO'd in the US, which is very weird to say.
Yeah. CXMT's IPO more than 200 times oversubscribed.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Ah. $1.29 per share. So they're raising $8.5 billion, but it doesn't say. Mind you, revenue has surged more than 700% in Q1. Yeah,
I wonder why.
that'd be very nice.
Also, for all the people saying that, what was it? That CXMT is going to save the memory business. No, they're just going to join the cartel that we all know exists.
Okay, so they're valuing themselves at 85 billion.
Oh, so they're
so it's a 10%.
So it's a 10%?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the shares represent 10%. Okay. So yeah, it's
right there.
Right. The problem right now is that people forget that supply and demand needs supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
And if the demand is twice the supply and the supply increases by 25%, the demand is still there.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean prices go down 25%, because that would only happen in a 1-to-1 if supply met demand.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And memory is historically a very thin margin business anyway, and that's because of the boom and bust cycles.
What's interesting is back in the 80s and 90s, I didn't actually realize this, but apparently, do you know who was one of the biggest producers of DRAM?
Nanya. Elpida.
No, what country?
Japan.
East Germany as well.
We haven't called it East Germany in a while, but go on.
East Germany actually had a large part of the DRAM market until that became commoditized. It kind of caused a lot of issues for their economy in the long term. And so it's interesting that we're going from memory becoming commodity to memory not becoming commodity anymore, and seeing this push towards different memory standards. It's very interesting to me.
So what happens if SK Hynix and Samsung become half the country's GDP?
Aren't they already?
Samsung's like 30%.
Yeah, I was gonna say Samsung's 30%. SK, I think, is like 20%.
But Samsung has they've had, I mean, aside from the Chaebol issues, some of their departments were not losing money hand over fist, but riding the line, and not in a good way, for a long time. I mean, there's a reason why display companies are selling all their stuff to TCL or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because some of these businesses are super marginal, and it's just not not worth the hassle unless you have the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in terms of revenue combined, they are 16% of GDP. Samsung is 12, SK Hynix is 4. So 16%.
Okay.
Yeah. But, to your point, if they were to bottom out overnight, of which memory can do.
Yeah.
You're
if suddenly this AI bubble pops, oh boy.
You know what I say to that? Mugs available on store.techpotato.com. But yeah, I have no aversion to a CXMT memory. It's memory. Let's go. It's memory. And yeah, the fact that it's China's largest IPO.
Well, I think it's Asia's largest IPO, according to Reuters.
Sorry, yeah, Asia's. Is that just because we had a big $1 trillion IPO? It sounds tiny by comparison. Well, I say we, you Americans, you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, an 8.6 billion IPO it's large, but it's not, knocked out the doors.
Well,
size.
8.6 for an 85 valuation, right?
Yeah.
So discussion questions. What does CXMT's ability to raise this much capital and a 200 times oversubscribed signal about the state of China's domestic memory industry? If CXMT's capex doesn't hit 200% of revenue tomorrow, right? I'm not saying build it and they will come. You're looking at the prefab capital of the world, a country that famously built a hospital in 7 days, built a tower block in a day, that sort of thing. As much as Sam Zeloof is trying to make a fab making fab, but he's doing fab making fab for to like bring down cost and bring down he's not doing it for scale.
Yeah, no, this is for scale.
This is for scale. And if at the end of it we end up with a market flooded with cheap Chinese memory and you can pick up half a terabyte for $20, then China, by all means, knock yourself out. Except
I very much doubt that that's going to happen again because of the whole cartel nature of DRAM.
Oh, yeah. You saw the lawsuit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. It's starting all over again.
Yeah. File a lawsuit. No, go work for them. You get a bonus.
Yeah.
Worth 10 times the lawsuit. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How might the IPO affect global pricing and competition? It won't. People will just use more. Jevons paradox rears its ugly head again because, hey, machine learning. Could export restrictions or geopolitical tensions affect investor appetite or distribution? Can CXMT memory be imported into the US?
Yes. What I was actually going to say is the thing is a lot of at least Western money, JVs, not JVs, venture funds, all those folks, they don't like investing in Chinese markets because of the control that the CCP has. Which could partly answer why CXMT is only valuing themselves at 85 bill instead of, let's say, 200.
Could CXMT decide to build a fab in the US?
Ooh, that's a spicy question. To which the answer is
okay. Big memory fabs in the US, Micron.
Yes. Well, Micron, Samsung is building out.
Are they building up memory or is it just logic?
Well, Taylor's both, I believe. I think Taylor's.
I thought Taylor was just logic.
Google.
Hey, Google. Micron has 2 big plants, right? They have the one that they took over from Intel.
No. They have more than that. Because they have.
I mean, haven't they got some in Singapore? Okay.
Yeah, but they have.
They
have the Maryland fab, which just came back online. They have the Idaho fab,
Boise. They have a Virginia.
They have the build out for Boise. They have the second build out for Boise.
Oh, and they
And then
just
they
announced,
have the New York one, which is being
they
built.
they just announced Clay in New York,
Yeah,
which is a high, but that's $100 billion construction.
yeah. Clay's been announced for a while now.
Couple of years, yeah, and yeah, they got some in Singapore and a little bit in Taiwan and Japan apparently. But yeah, it's you know, if they wanted to, if CXMT needed to butter up the US government, as in not be put on the entity list, they might have to start committing tens of billions of dollars in US based facilities. Now, will that happen before the Cheeto comes out of office?
What's interesting is what I will say is all of these rare earth suspensions have started the good old trend of the US looking for and finding massive deposits of these minerals in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked if this starts another sort of like
Industrial revolution.
Yeah, especially for all the rare earth exports.
Web 4.0.
Yeah, yeah, except in the ground this time.
They're supposed to. No, the data centers are going to space. They'll be in the air. They'll be in the air. Oh God, there was somebody at Raise who was very pro. Oh, his company was. If we can get it down to $300 per kilo, then
Davina, what currently there's no supply chain. Yes, but if this continues, the supply chain will have to be built one way or another
with enough need and enough big government help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from the party of small government. These things can happen. The only thing is, I recommend you divert the U.S. military budget that way.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
yeah, except they lift like that's. It would get too political if I start arguing too much about this. Also, Victus, the CIA just bought the titanium. They literally just bought it from Russia. That's the funniest stuff, is that they didn't have to smuggle it. They just bought it.
And didn't get shot on the way out.
No.
Speaking of fab and fab extensions, let's talk about Intel. After buying back their island fab, which apparently they were divested for 51.49.
Yeah.
They got 13 billion when they divested, and it cost them 16 billion to buy it back. 6 billion of which is debt, 10 billion in cash. They've announced a $5 billion euro expansion of their manufacturing facility in Ireland. So those of you who follow the channel, I went to visit this Fab 34 when it was opened, and this is Intel's premier 4 nanometer, 3 nanometer, or Intel 4, Intel 3 fab globally. So anything that's not 18A but is modern and uses EUV comes out of either Ireland or Oregon, and
also Arizona.
A little bit, yeah,
because 12A.
So, this is meant to be. So Europe still has leading edge manufacturing. It's just in Ireland, which is Europe. But no, so for those of you who don't know the area, this is about 20 miles west of Dublin. So it's not in the middle of nowhere. You can fly into Dublin and take a 30-minute Uber and get there. But 5 billion now. we used to call 20 billion a fab, right? A proper
Yeah.
fab development. So this isn't a fab development. This will be building more buildings, and this will be like Oregon, where we had Fab 1, Fab 2, and then Fab D1, D1A, D1B, D1C, and then D1X, or because they didn't want D1E on the side of a building, because it looks like the word die. And yeah, the funny thing is, I have a funny story here because it happened this week, and it drove me nuts. I very often get emails, random emails from PR agents saying, hey, we noticed that company A announced this. Well, here at company B, we have opinions. Do you want to speak to our CEO? The thing is, company B often has nothing to do with company A. They may be in an adjacent thing, and it's like, we just want to get our executives' quotes in the media. Except this time, company A was Intel. Company B is the government organization behind Israel's semiconductor investment called IDA Ireland. And IDA Ireland even have a quote in the press release further down. I'll find it here somewhere. Yeah, IDA Ireland CEO. So this is the institution that's in charge of the semiconductor investment and bringing it into Ireland from outside. And they said, are you working on any articles to which we might be able to provide an executive, a very specific executive they named? And I turned around and I said, for the first time in 10 years of getting these cold call emails, this might actually be the first one I want. Because
they pulled out.
No. I got an email back saying he's on vacation. I'm like, guys, it was announced yesterday. You ask if I want a meeting. I say, I've got time tomorrow morning because I'd like to say something in our podcast the next day. And the PR agent said, I'll check. And then it turns out he's on vacation. So they offered me somebody who was on vacation. Why offer at all? Or don't you have something else?
Yeah, that's what's known as bad planning.
Miscommunication between IDA Ireland and their PR agency. The PR agency said, hey, try and get as many calls as you can with press with our executive, not the CEO, somebody else. And they went, yeah, let's email a bunch of people. I don't know how they got my email, whatever. It doesn't bother me too much in that regard.
Okay. Chat, can we calm down with the politics stuff here? There's too much politics going on here because otherwise I'll start ranting.
It's our good friend Sam Moore from IEEE Spectrum.
Yeah.
He said, preach to this. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. I've actually been reading a lot of Sam's articles recently. He gets his teeth into so much stuff. I am really envious about how he has time to do all this. And it's because I'm busy fanning about doing other stuff. But yeah, if you ever want to read some good technical content about a lot of different semiconductor stuff, go Google Sam over at IEEE Spectrum. We should get him on as a guest maybe, if we can find him, if we're all at the same event together. But yeah, so yeah, that's Ireland investing. Intel investing in Ireland. And in our notes here, yeah, we already mentioned it will just be Intel 4, Intel 3, not 18A or 14A. Intel's already invested $30 billion into the area since 1989. And you may have seen a little side thing. Intel is shipping High-NA.
Yes, that was interesting.
This announcement went live at 10 p.m. Pacific yesterday, which is
what's funny is, oddly enough, who I got the email from?
ASML.
Yes.
So
Which was odd because I'm not directly connected to ASML.
I may have mentioned your name.
Oh, well, thank you.
What was it from Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah. So Sarah knows who you are. So this was technically an ASML announcement. So it was 7 a.m. in the Netherlands. That's why it went out that time. And so we all know that Intel's been the first to a machine, to a high-end EV machine. They've had it for a couple of years now, or 18 months since they announced that they were installing it. And of course, it takes time to build it up. They were technically only a few weeks ahead of ASML in terms of the build. So when it comes time to dialing it in, it takes longer than buying an EUV machine because they know how to install an EUV machine. They don't know how to install a high-end EUV machine. And so you got to dial it in. And we were all under the impression it would be used for R&D, for a lot of R&D, trying to get high-NA to work. And there's been a lot of criticisms about, is high-NA even cost-effective, given the price of the tool, given the upkeep and such. And we've got people like Semi-Analysis saying, based on some IBM work at a previous conference, that unless it replaces 3 regular EUV exposures, you're actually losing money because of the increased cost.
Interesting.
High-NA means that you need fewer exposures, but it costs higher to run. And the announcement was to say, when we're not doing R&D, we are using this machine because it costs so much freaking money to run Panther Lake through it.
Which is interesting.
But now the questions will be, well, how many? And to which I expect the answer will be a few, but probably less than you think, or fewer than you think.
Yeah.
They are doing it on some critical metal layers, so you only need 1 exposure, not 2. And from their perspective, it's just simply saying, we have managed to get high-NA now in a state where it performs as well as EUV for fewer exposures. So yield and frequency, right? Whether that's defect, that's defect yield and parametric yield, or at least it's within an acceptable set of error bars compared to EUV. And it means that, and I reached out to Intel and I asked for clarification. I said, are you saying this is Panther Lake? That's just like test chips to see if it works, or is this actually going to be a consumer product? And they said, no, this is going into consumer silicon. To which my next question is going to be, well, is it going to be a new SKU, or is it just going to be filtered into the volume of Panther Lakes we have? And the answer I kind of got was essentially, it's just going to be rolled in. Are you arguing in the chat about China?
Yes, I am. Well, no, more so making the point that the U.S. is actually the second largest producer of rare earth materials.
It's just we don't have enough. Or they don't have enough of a lot of them.
No, because of what they found in Maine. They just found a massive deposit in Maine.
Part of the problem is some of it is some of these are byproducts of other processes that the US doesn't do. Yes, that is correct. But in terms of the ones that the US can mine and find, it's the same argument that people make when the US embargoes China or some other country on X thing. The response is, oh, they'll just build that themselves. The corollary to that is, if China decides to restrict something, then the US will just build it themselves. Yeah. It's the same argument, and it's why I try to stay away from this type of argument, because it always fundamentally falls back into necessity is the mother of invention, and if it needs get done, it will get done. Assuming there are enough people with enough energy to do it. When the U.S. military decides that needs to get done, it will get done, and Congress will just lay the groundwork for it. It's called cheap labor, George.
Yeah. Hmm.
And this is why we have students working on supercomputers.
Mhm.
But yeah, so Intel is saying high NA chips. You might end up with a Raptor Lake laptop, and maybe looking forward Nova Lake, on desktop hardware and not even know it. Now you might think, hang on, Intel has said high NA is more of a 14A thing, not an
Mhm.
18A thing. Why they do it on an 18A? And I think it comes down to one, they're
Because
doing
we
all the
can.
R&D, and two, if we don't have any R&D to run, this machine's really expensive. So let's just run product, right? It's if you can get it to work, it makes sense. And I've seen a few people say this is also pipe cleaner level of stuff. Given the die size, it's what, 80 square mil for a compute die on Panther,
Something like that.
which is, I would argue, a bit big for a pipe cleaner. But you know, it's
Mhm.
there. It seems to be working. Intel's financials are next week, right in the middle of
Oh, are
advanced
they?
AI. Yeah.
Okay.
So I fully expect one of the analysts is going to ask, well, how many Panther
Yeah.
Lakes are getting EUV? And they won't tell. Because they could say something like even if they said it's 1,000 wafer starts a month.
That's not a lot.
It's not a lot, but it's still some. And I just
Yeah.
my email just pinged, and I just got my AMD schedule.
Oh, okay.
Funnily enough, during day 2,
Uh-huh.
Multibeam Corporation is having an event about their new e-beam product. So this is using electrons rather than lithography.
Oh, yes, okay.
The CEO of the company is Dr. David Lam, whose name,
Oh.
he was the founder of Lam Research.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that the founder of Lam Research? Okay.
Yeah, he's the CEO of a different company now.
That's funny.
And unfortunately, like I said, day 2 of AMD is meant to be the big day where everything's going on.
Mhm.
Multibeam's presentation or registration opens at 2 p.m.
Mhm.
in the Valley. We're going to be
Oh.
up in Moscone.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, that's $100 Uber at that time of day, and about
Yeah.
40 minutes at least.
If you're lucky.
So
Depending on traffic, that could be 40 minutes or that could be 4 hours.
the thing is, you know, I've not interacted with Dr. David Lam or Multibeam aside from they offered me to interview him earlier last year, and I was just way too busy and dealing with clients. But that's got to be an interesting interview. Somebody who's been in the industry and especially in the equipment industry for 40 years and has his name everywhere in every fab. So no, it's the problem, Jay, isn't the fact that it's a long time to get there. It's the fact that chances are I'm going to be booked for a one-on-one with a very senior person at AMD that afternoon, or a very critical. And AMD is a client of mine, as is Intel, as is IBM, and as is Qualcomm and yada yada. So, and they're also flying. AMD is also paying for my flights, right? So, for me to bunk off to go to something irrelevant, I would have to have a very good reason, and have a lot of kudos stored up in order to do that. Or I just send George.
Well, I may be busy during that time, depending on how my schedule pans out.
Exactly. This is what's making me think I need more people. But if I need more people, it means I have to fly more people over.
Yeah.
So
you could also just pay me.
Yeah. You have to write more for that.
True.
And I know we've been going on for almost 2.5 hours. Let's speak about the last thing. And the last thing I want to bring up is hot chips. Because if you've seen on the channel, George and I have done a full agenda overview of hot chips, but we did it when the agenda came out, and things change. And the first thing I notice, we now have 2 Rhodium sponsors.
Yes, I did notice that.
What the hell?
I don't know who Volt AI is, but I sure know who Google Cloud is.
So Volt AI will be at DAC.
Okay.
That should give you a clue.
Okay.
So AI-based EDA.
Oh God, there's so many emails that I've if anybody watching here has emailed me about DAC, I do apologize. I will get back to you in a second. You're muted. Anyway, there are 2 Rhodium sponsors, and speaking of hot chips, there's been an odd change to the schedule. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, the final presentation, firstly, if you notice on day 2, there's no keynote on day 2. But the final presentation is from OpenAI, titled "You Can Just Build Things crossed out ... chips." This is probably going to be at least talking somewhat about the methodology behind how they built their first chip, codenamed Jalapeno, I believe.
Yep.
And we talked about this on the last Tech Poutine. So,
Jalapeno built at TSMC with Broadcom.
Mm-hmm.
And as we said then, their big thing was 9 months from start to tape out, which I said, that's great if you use stuff that's already silicon proven.
Mm-hmm.
You overpay to rush it. You overpay for manufacturing. You overpay for packaging.
And OpenAI is nothing if not basically a blank check at this point in time.
Yeah, because if they need money, they go to NVIDIA.
Well, no, they go to Microsoft. Really?
Well, I mean, they owe Cerebras a chunk of money once Cerebras deploys at scale. But yeah, and this is in the session with the SN50, which has kind of gone under the radar for a Salmonova chip. I think I missed this when we talked to the agenda because I completely forgot. It's got 5 times the compute density as the SN40 on the same processor.
Which then begs the question, okay, 5 times the compute density of what?
The SN40.
No. But 5 times the compute density of what data type? Of what?
So 2x comes from a half precision.
So having precision is from.
I think that's FP8 to FP4.
Okay.
But I understand they've rejigged the ALU to SRAM ratio.
Okay. So they've cut down
for the other 2.5. For the other 2.5.
Okay, so they've basically so it's not a free lunch, is what you're saying.
There may also be a slight frequency change, but they 5x'd in a generation. And I remember being a bit critical of them when they announced it, so much so that when they talked about the SN50 recently, I completely forgot I had a go at them. I completely forgot the chip existed.
Yeah, so did I. I honestly forget Salmonova exists a lot of the time.
But I spoke to the CEO at Raise. I spoke to Rodrigo, like I said, and we had a good chat I said I'd send them my my contract if they're interested, but we'll find out. Yeah. Otherwise, still lots of
Do you expect anything different? Do you expect potentially anything new to be added here?
I've got a feeling at least there'll be one more add-in. We do get the keynote as well. Waymo.
Yeah, it's Waymo.
Waymo. And Diamond Rapids.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that the sessions that I will be most interested in will be sessions CPU1 and CPU2 with some tangential questions for GPU and
that's another thing I saw this week. And you pointed out that it may have been announced previously. Broadcom has announced they've taped out a 2nm chip.
Yeah.
ARM-based chip.
Which is Fujitsu.
Yeah.
But that's not, if you think about it, right? That's not that surprising.
But Fujitsu said Monarca was a 28 chip.
No, they said 27. Monarca's been 27 for a while now.
If they're taping it out now, it should be ready by the end of the year. So surely it's a 26 chip.
No.
Are you saying the
bring up? That's not. I'm saying that server bring up is a lot more rigorous and involved than.
Yes, it is. But if you pay people to do it fast,
yeah, I don't see Fujitsu moving that fast.
That might be a cultural thing. They need to make sure everything's right.
But also, like, again, sort of the company that is closest to Fujitsu in terms of how they work in this industry is IBM, in my opinion. And they both sort of share that slow and methodical and approach. Because they're both very big server companies, right?
Yeah. I just realized that there's now 2 Waymo talks then, if you add in the keynote.
Yeah.
There's one general go-to-market and one processor.
Which is interesting because we don't hear much about like driving chips in terms of like sensors and stuff.
We had that crappy Tesla presentation once.
Well, no, wasn't that about their Dojo?
No, they had a Dojo one, but they also had is it self-driving 3 or whatever?
Oh.
And it was more just a talk of our chip's this big, we built it on this process, and we have 7 different engines that will do this TOPS values.
And it's like, give me detail.
And the rest was software, because it always is with automotive, right?
Yeah.
Jay asks, who's actually using Samba/Cerebrus in prod? Cerebrus, OpenAI. If you look at is it the Spark 5.2 codex stuff, that if you pay for the top speed tier, you're using Cerebrus on that, and that's got a lot of way to go. Cerebrus is also in the Middle East. They had a big client called G42. That project is still ongoing. Samba Nova just got validated by JP Morgan for financial use. And they said,
interesting.
Speaking to Rodrigo about this, he said it's taken them a long, long time because finance is very, methodical,
slow, and it's like IBM
requirements. But apparently, the minute they announced that they were through the gate with JP Morgan, every other bank wants to speak to them.
Yeah, because it's very much once you're in, you're in.
Yeah. So alongside the $1 billion raise they did for the $8 billion valuation, it looks, but also they're kind of, if you look at an Intel roadmap right now on AI, if you're looking at the high performance compute AI, it's Intel plus Samba Nova plus NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And that's because Lip Bu, the CEO of Intel, also happens to be managing director of Walden International and invested in Salmonova. And the chief communications officer of Intel used to have that same job at Salmonova. So, there's a lot between the two companies. But I think Salmonova is too big to be acquired, and Intel's not in a position to acquire another AI company.
No, they are not.
So Intel's more than happy to be the CPU provider for any AI inference engine, right? So that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So actually, another thing that happened this morning was that Kimi K3 came out.
I saw that.
Yeah, 2.8 trillion token model.
Do you know the history of Kimi?
I don't. I know it's Moonshot AI, which I've heard about, but
yeah, it's one of those models I always hear about, but I've never actually done the research behind it.
Well, what's interesting is looking at the artificial analysis numbers. It's about it falls in between GPT 5.6 Sol, extra high, and high, but it's actually a lot more expensive per token, which is interesting.
Okay.
It's actually the opposite of what traditionally happens.
So you're right. Moonshot AI, which is based in China. It's a model from one of the big Chinese frontier labs. An ultra large scale, open weight, multimodal reasoning model. So I've actually just pivoted from 5.4. Is it GPT 5.4?
Well, no, 5.6 is what's
no, but I think I don't think I had access to that on the plan I was to Opus 4.8 as my main day to day. So Anthropic get $100 a month out of me now. But it's actually fun. I can say, hey, go through my Google Drive and find all the images relating to this topic and pull them in a different directory. So I have that as B-roll. Ding, 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 ding. Done.
The size of it?
I'm waiting until everything of this gets cheaper, right? And I know people complain about the size of the models and the power consumption, and in certain cases where there's not closed loop cooling, or there was promised closed loop and it ends up being open loop cooling, the water consumption. Just don't ask how much water golf courses use. Do you remember? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're too young. When you used to have to pay 20 cents to connect a call, and then 5 cents a minute. Right? And then
I'm not quite young enough to forget that. I still remember that.
Yeah. It was a bit different in the UK because we had local and international.
Yeah, I mean, same here.
Or super local, where you were both in the same area code.
Yep, that was also a thing here.
But over time, because technology got better, local calls became free.
Yep.
And then all national calls became free. So the international calls where you still get chewed out, and that's because of cross-licensing deals and people using other people's.
What is nice is that T-Mobile, basically all the countries that I go to for conferences, Germany, Taiwan, I'm covered. So I have free international calling.
It's I have international data free to certain countries.
Yes,
but the thing is, at some point, AI is going to get there.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this about how
If you can reduce the cost of a 3 billion parameter model to
mhm.
zero, or to effectively zero, it's hard. Who was I talking to? They were saying how some of the money. Oh, that's right. Some of these these companies that have AI, models or platforms, half of their revenue comes from people who signed up for the $5 a month and forgot to cancel.
Huh.
So, yeah. And yeah, as Davina says, nothing is actually free. Yeah, a call isn't technically free, but if you're paying $30 a month and your call is essentially a nanocent per second, right? You cannot, if you spend all your time on your phone during that month, you will not be able to, it's like going to the buffet. Don't fill up on bread, right? If it gets to the point where you can go to the buffet, pay your $15 for your buffet, and then it doesn't matter what you eat, you're never going to break 15. AI subscription is the same as gym memberships. This is why I pay per go to the gym, and I should probably go more than twice a month. It's not AGI until it's $0 per token at the low end.
Yeah.
At the low end. At the but yeah, that then we might get diffusion based language models running in microwatts. What's the matter, George?
Yeah.
It looks like you're
So I just got an email.
You're fed up with everything.
More frustrated because now I have to go and so
You have to talk about this if you don't want.
Well, no. So at Computex, I did an interview with Kira from Intel.
Yes.
And I will say that from the audience wasn't particularly well received, mostly because they are a product director, right? They're sort of looking at the high level. They're not quite at the engineering level, which is what my audience focuses on. And I had told Axicom for advancing AI that I wanted to talk to technical people. And they set me up with a senior product director. And it's like, how do I say my audience is not going to be interested in this? Can we have somebody like Alan Smith or somebody on that sort of technical level?
Just be open and say, yeah, just say, hey, I appreciate you going to bat for me, but I look at what happened at Computex, or this happened at Computex, and there was a very strong negative reaction from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because the person is bad, it's just because it's not a great fit.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
it's I've asked for a jumper and you've given me a sock.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
The sock is great at being a sock. And just say, is that, it's a case of it's actually so negative, it just wouldn't make good content for this channel. And I'd much rather you give that person to somebody else that can make advantage. So if you have an opportunity for me to speak to somebody more in my lane.
Yeah, it looks like Alan may be available, but it's like I need to I'm trying to be diplomatic about saying, hey, this person is not like, it looks like they're actually trying to schedule me with Alan. So they just have to figure out timing, which is fine. But with regards to the director person, I tried with Intel. I did actually try, and I liked the interview. I think Kira was appreciative of the interview, but the issue is that the questions I would ask of a product director would be stuff that would be behind. It would be
behind
like,
closed doors. Yeah, it'd be
it would be like,
information.
why was Strix Halo 3.5 and not 4? Or when are you going to get a chip that is good for local AI at the level of GB10?
Whereas with a product director, you're more likely going to ask, well, what customer base is actually buying this product and what are they using it for?
And my audience just doesn't give a flying potatoes about that.
It's and this is why some people have different channels, have different
Yes.
So maybe instead of chips and cheese, you need you need a new channel called Melted Cheese. Or
that would be funny.
Or you know cheese unplugged, or blue cheese. I don't know.
So Ahmed Ali in chat asked, why is Strix Halo RDNA 3.5? The simple answer is the chip is really old.
Timing.
Yes, like if you look at all the die shots, if you zoom in, the graphics die was from 2023.
Yeah,
it's a very old chip. It's that simple.
It's I have a lot of those interviews with product people, and that's because, especially on my Substack, it's a business audience, right? And they find value in it, right? And so I kind of mix the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I find that people don't really like interviews anyway, especially video interviews. Maybe I'm just a crappy interviewer.
My audience likes them, so.
But they prefer transcripts. But
I also do transcripts. Actually, speaking of, there's a new model, Ink. Yeah, I know, but it's related. Inkling, that actually does audio.
Okay.
Although it's a really big model, so I can't run it. But they're supposed to have a small model that I may be able to fit on the 2 DGX Sparks, but it does audio. So I hope that maybe that could do like really good transcription with like technical terms.
I right now, instead of my 5090, have my 5060 put in because it isn't causing blue screens. So it's a 5060 8 gig. I run a 6 gigabyte Whisper model to do the to generate an SRT, and then I put that SRT through an Opus or a GPT, and I turn around and say, "Hey, here's an interview between me and this person. We discuss these topics. Use this SRT file, fix it to say actual real sentences." And generate a blow-by-blow interview for me. That gets me 90 to 93% of the way there. Usually, sometimes it's 80. Sometimes it's not worth a damn. But when you're going through and you end up at an event doing lots of interviews, so I run the Whisper local.
Yes,
and to be honest, if I didn't do that, I could just upload the raw video to YouTube, and then YouTube actually generates a subtitle file for you that you can download and put that into a model to fix it up, right?
Yes. By the way, if you can still hear my typing, I do apologize. Let me get the mic in front of the keyboard.
He's arguing with his model. That's what it is. Yeah, now we can't hear you. You've muted yourself, or you've nudged your microphone out the port like I did earlier. No, nothing yet. it's it, there are so many sides to this whole using AI story.
Am I back?
Yep.
Okay. So like I have used AI. I know slight tangent. For like as advanced grammar editing.
Yeah.
Like,
you could be like Huawei and use it for research papers.
Kill me.
I used this phrase today, and I said I have my head so far up in AI most of the day. I feel like I'm on the inside looking out and can really tell when people use it. Just the phrasing and the sentence structure and the no human says it that way round. And
Yes.
I'm so surprised it isn't obvious to more people. But then I'm also the person who goes around saying you should be saying DRAM, not RAM.
Well, also what's interesting, right, is that like I don't use like I'll feed it a article and say just do basic grammar and then try and shorten sentences a little bit because I know that I can go on big rambly like 2 to 3
make it sound human because Robot George is working again.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's Davina says, is it hard to make a summary for a video without using AI? Without is fine. It's just a case you got to put words on a paper. Making a like a YouTube video description, that can be sometimes tough because models don't understand what you're asking for. They feel like you're asking for a literal factual description and not like a intro to get people interested in, which is what your YouTube description should be. And that makes it tough. Subtitles is difficult because of timing. It doesn't really understand the timing, especially if you're working off of a SRT file like text. But timestamps used to be very bad. And I noticed that a few models used to front load your timestamps. So if you had a 20-minute video, it would have 8 timestamps in the first 5 minutes and then nothing. And you have to kind of, I'm not saying necessarily coach it, but part of the issue is that some of these prompts, even with big models who know what to do, you have to actually be pretty verbose. This is why I said with the interview, don't just dump an SRT file and say, here's an interview between 2 people, go. Tell the model who the interview is between. Tell them the topics you're talking about and tell them what matters. Because if you were there, you also know and you can make that determination. Or if I turn around and say, here's the SRT of a 12-minute video about a topic, a talking head video, what I do on the channel. I know I spend 3 minutes doing this, 3 minutes doing that. But can you pick out the 3 or 4 main topics, which also include this for timestamps? You still need to post check because sometimes it will think your video is 25 minutes, not 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. And transcripts can be accurate. And I also add in the phrase, make it sound like a human because humans actually don't speak in sentences. The problem is with the interviews George and I do, technical words can be a pain.
Yes.
That being said, we did one recently. Actually, the Charlie at Broadcom, when he was on stage at Raise, part of my coverage of that is going to be a transcript of what he said on stage. Did really, I used the latest GPT in high mode rather than medium mode, and that did a lot better.
Yeah.
And that's another thing when you use AI models. Understand when you need to use the quick one versus the detailed one. Because sometimes you use the detailed one and your answer takes 10 times to come back and it's worse.
What I will say is DRAM, whenever I've done a transcript through AI, it turns into DRAM, which is very funny.
It's, so one thing I've noticed, and maybe I'm behind the times on this, most of what you see in the chat window is just markup styled.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tell it you need like an export of a .docx or .pdf, it creates what you've done, puts it into markup, and then does a markup to converter.
Yeah.
And things like having a word in all capitals can sometimes get through a filter. So yeah, it's that sort of thing. My AMD timetable,
Mm-hmm.
I am wall to wall.
Me too.
I get a 1 hour break for lunch / writing time.
Huh.
I get a 45-minute break, but on one side of the break, I have 3 fireside chats. On the other side of the break, I have 2.5 fireside chats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have reserved seating for analysts. I don't know about press, but
Probably.
yeah, I suspect there's going to be in excess of 4,000 people.
Ugh.
It's the Moscone. There might even be 8.
Yeah. I
Hey.
prefer smaller conferences, honestly.
There's going to be a show floor, like GTC. They're all going to be speaking AMD. Let's just see if that GTC had many issues. When you have a single vendor conference and a show floor, it can be rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about it for the Poutine.
Yeah. Last thing, was there anything else on the
OpenAI
agenda?
OpenAI made a keyboard.
Yeah, it was weird. It was almost like a yeah, it's almost like a streaming deck, which is very weird, like in terms of the form factor.
Why they have people doing this, I have no clue.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Well, I will see you next week in person, George.
Yep.
And yeah, I wonder if we're in the same sessions on day one. Oh, they might split us up. Who knows?
Probably. Hold on.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if Joe Macri could make us fall over with laughter again.
That was good. That was good.
I'm pretty sure we got some weird looks.
Oh, we did, but we were both on the floor.
We were the only ones laughing at his joke.
Because we were the only ones. I think we were one of the. Yeah.
Oh. Anyway. Cool. Well, have a good one, y'all. We've got lots coming up. I've got lots of videos in the pipe, and if I can stop writing scripts and actually film one for once, and watch the stuff that's edited for once.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll come back next week, end of next week.
Yeah.
I
was just gonna say, what's really funny is if you look at the time, we've been so consistent with our times.
Yeah, another
nearly 3-hour stream. Yes.
Cool. I'm gonna get some food. But thank you all for coming.
Have a good one, folks.
If you like this content, there are multiple ways to support the channel. You can like and subscribe this video, and many thanks for doing so. There's also a Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord. There's a merchandise store and a newsletter, links in the description. For all of you who do contribute, thank you. You are keeping me well fed.